Right, so are you ready to be amazed by a strangely, hilariously efficient, utterly ridiculous mining operations you ever seen in Space Engineers? Well, trust me, this one's gonna be good. So let's take a look. So traditionally, your asteroid mining is fairly simple, where you have a drill ship such as this one here, where is several drills attached to a ship, whether it's hydrogen, ion thrusters, whichever the case may be, to fly. And it's fairly simple, right? So basically, turn on your drills, go into an asteroid, and start drilling this way. And the only issue that you run into is that if you don't have much space, like a large cargo container or any cargo containers, most of it is going to go into your drill system. So then you have the difficult thing to do of putting it all back into or connecting into a bigger ship with more cargo space, which can take a little bit more time to do. So what if we have a more simple way of doing this other than slapping on a drill system on a piston, such as this on the main ship that collects everything, like this here? What if we did something like this? Alright, so this is the idea that's kind of ridiculous in some ways, but also efficient enough to transport your stones, your ore, and everything like that fairly easily without having to move and connect into the connectors and everything like that into the ship. So what this here is a hinge chain or hinge rotor chain on a connector attached from the main ship that has a lot of cargo space versus the drill ship itself. Now, the crazy part about this is that the hinge rotor chain doesn't really work that well if connected. It's actually very clang oriented or very clang inducing in some ways. So basically, for an example, if we're connected to the connector in the rear, that middle one back there, flying this thing is very, very hard. As you see here, just moving left and right, and swinging all the hinges around a lot and a little too much, where we're probably going to break something fairly soon, as you see there. So to kind of prevent all that craziness, we got to unlock the connector. The main thing what you want to do is basically have multiple connectors with the strength at 100. So that when you unlock the main one, these are still kind of magnetized and not going anywhere. So that way, when we drive this thing separately from the subgrid or from the main ship, you see it's much more easy to control. And I could easily and slowly kind of get into the ore that we want to collect. Grab some iron, some stone, whatever the case may be. Once we fill up all our cargo space, if let's just imagine we have a small cargo container instead of a large cargo container here. Once we get it kind of filled up, which we could put like a light or something like that to say we're getting there, that's when we can hit connect. And once we're connected, stuff that are coming from here can be transferred out into the hinge rotor chain right here into the main ship that has much more cargo space. And then eventually you could unhook this to drive it back or find a way to park this thing on the main ship. I haven't found a real good solution for it, but you probably stiffen up the rotors and hinges to make it not flip around like that too much. You want to increase the torque probably and throw a little bit of RPMs there, and you should be able to get it straight enough so that you could kind of fly this thing out of here. Well, it'll be a bit of a pain to get it connected, but we could use a tug ship such as this one here, where it has the magnet plates in the front. We could magnetize onto this connector here. Ooh, okay, that didn't work. Right, so there was an issue where the connector was still attached to the drill ship, so that was the cause for that. So we're gonna try this one more time. Ooh. Okay, so that really didn't work out at all. So I guess what we can try to do is get the hinges to get to at 0%. All right, so it looks like once we get the hinges flattened out straight, it makes it a little bit easier to get this connected back. And of course, this thing's not very efficient once we unhook this thing, obviously, but okay, so we can slowly but surely try to get the connector back in by going as slow as possible here. Right there. So we are now basically connected once again. And there we go. So the problem with this is that you do have to get the hinges back to 0% to strain it out, which is not too bad. I mean, upper limit to 0, and then the velocity at 1. Get a lot of torque on there, but the current setup is torque at 100, and we let these hinges and rotors to be loose. Make sure this one's disconnected, which right now is currently on, and now we can freely fly the ship. So I am kind of curious to see if we could hook this thing on back into the connector in the rear or on the bottom. If we could do that, then it'll be easy transport, but I think we're gonna summon some clang here. All right, we are on the connector. Let's see what happens in 3, 2, 1. Nothing. Okay, we get a free floating hinge rotor chain, which might be quite deadly for the ship itself unless we can find a way to not rotate too much. I mean, we could put in some torque or even lock it. Maybe we'll lock it. So as you see here, we're connected so we could fly this thing with ease. So that could be the way of unloading or flying our ship back to where we need it to go. We should undampen her down there, but it's fine. The only other issue that I have is going to be the chain whipping around, and it's likely going to whip and hit the ship or even the drill ship. So if I use the drill ship to fly, yeah, you see the hinge chain is a little bit moving around. That is where it gets scary, and I'm not connected on there as well. But if I do connect it, I wonder what happens if I do connect the hinge chain. Nothing. Interesting enough. I thought it would probably do something, but what if we just lock the hinges? All right, so if you lock the hinges, it still flops around a little bit, but I think it's because the rotors are not locked. So we lock the rotors and hinges, and now fly. We're steady. Okay, so we need to set some kind of timer block or event controller to have that set like that. All right, so if we get ready for the next drill effort, we're just gonna have to tell the hinges to unlock, put the torque back to 100 or maybe 0. That 0 could work too. I like to put 100, just give it a little bit of torque. Advanced rotor, same thing. Unlock it, put in the torque at 100. Now we could unlock from both top connector and the bottom connector, so we can fly it with the rotor. And as you see here, main ship's not moving around. Our drill ship is, and we can continue our drilling efforts this way. So my current drill ship should have a sorter to move from one connector to the other, but current doesn't. But if we do put in the connector and lock it in, we can move the cockpit stuff into the main cargo container on the other ship. And if we have the cargo filled up here, like so, we can move it from here. But a sorter should be able to fix all that on the main ship. So technically it should be behind this connector right here, so then that way it could pull everything into the cargo instead of keeping it in the drill ship. So again, a ridiculous, somewhat efficient way to mine and drill an asteroid. Is it practical? It's somewhat. I would use it to an extent, but of course on a daily basis, likely not. I would probably do something like this. And of course, this is the infamous gravity collecting machine. So that is the main ship here, and then we have our drill ship. Although we don't necessarily need a drill ship, we can easily drill by hand if we had to. And they get all sucked into our pan collection here, right into our main cargo on the big ship. We could also utilize the drill ship, where we have the connectors in the back to say throw out all, as you see there. So that's a much more efficient way, and you're not tethered to anything. You're really tethered to just the gravity, or at least the range of the gravity field, which the spherical gravity generator has a pretty wide field. But in terms of efficiency and not ridiculous, this is probably the way to go. And how to set this up is fairly simple. Really just need a regular ship, has some kind of connection point, and behind it is going to be a spherical gravity generator right behind here, where all the stone is kind of getting into. So you want to, when you set up the spherical generator, even at maximum suction or whatever the range is, or max range, most of your stuff should be going into the collection pad as long as you're kind of nearby it. Like even if you were up here, it's not even that bad. So we drilled a little bit up here with stone. You still see that it's floating right into the collection plate right there. And the gravity is a max range, but not a max acceleration. But if we want to go max acceleration, we could do that too. And then, of course, even our person, if we dampen it off, we're going to start flying right into it, or at least jetpack off. Which actually brings up an interesting point. Dampen it off, you don't get sucked in. Jetpack off, you do. Did not realize that before, but that's an interesting piece to it. But yeah, max acceleration. Get some mining done here. And it's going to suck right into the collectors and bounce. It's going to bounce around here and there a little bit. But as long as the collection pan is big enough, we can make it even bigger if we want to. And also, if the ship is close enough, like where it is now, we have free range without it being tethered to anything like before with the hinge rotor chain. And as you see here, with the connectors saying to throw it out and collect all, we can have easy momentum to drill as much as possible, especially if it's a deposit, right? So we can easily maneuver around where we need to maneuver just to get the deposit itself. So that you're not restrained to the length of the dangerous hinge and rotor chain. Alright, so the collection pan is fairly simple, right? So basically, you just got to put a gravity generator here, the spherical one, right in the middle. Put 9 conveyor junctions or more if you need to. You want to make a bigger one. And then put the collectors in front. Unfortunately, the collectors for large grid only has the port in the back or in the bottom. So you're kind of restrained to like where you could place them. So the collection pan is made up of multiple ramps right here. So these are the ramps here. And then these other blocks here, which are going to be these light armor squared slopes. And this is the light armor slope block 2x1x1. And then this one here, light armor slope corner block. So that's the combination to fill out this. I wish there's a better block to slant it here, but I couldn't find one. But yeah, this is a much more efficient way to asteroid mine. Insane concept. You grab the drill ship and connect it down here. Be a lot less clangy and a lot less dangerous with the rotor hinge chain won't whip around and destroy something. However, all that will become moot if you get your hands on some of these bad boys. Some Prototech drills. And of course, these are fairly easy to get on the unidentified signals, where you have to get it from the Bio Research Facility. Check out the guide I created to get this as easy as possible. They are pretty efficient in terms of making a big old hole and drilling through an asteroid. But of course, if you couldn't find one of those yet, your hinge rotor chain style or gravity collector is the way to go. I would probably go with the hinge rotor chain style before we get any gravity components, because usually you get that a little bit later, because the hinges and rotors are much quicker to get, because all you need is basically iron and nickel, but you don't need gravity components like platinum and everything like that. So to start off, you gotta run dangerous with the chain, and then once you're more equipped with resources, go with the gravity collector. And once you're ready to attack Factorum, get your Prototech drill. But other than that, it was fun to show off a little bit of this ridiculousness with you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to drop a comment down below, even to just say hi. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.